Okay. So, so hello. I hope everyone's having a great day. I just want this to be like a very interactive session. So whoever does come in, if you want to type your questions in the chat, because at the end we will be asking our guest speaker Aranka some questions. And yeah, so let's just begin. So first things first, I just want to give a brief overview about Pre-Law Shadowers and what it's about. So basically, Pre-Law Shadowers is just a student-led organization, and it's dedicated to providing pre-law students across universities on Ontario with virtual shadowing opportunities. And our main goal is just to help young students engage and learn more about the legal careers that they plan to pursue. And I know it can be very difficult to find learning opportunities alone. So that's why we wanted to start this organization in the hopes that it can be both accessible and educationally fulfilling for students. And lastly, our sessions aim to learn more about different lawyers with regards to both their academic and professional journeys. So I will now briefly introduce myself. So my name is Zainab Ali. I am a second year student at Ontario Tech University. I'm majoring in political sciences, and my future goal is to become a lawyer. Not sure what kind of law yet, but we'll figure it out. And I am hosting the session today. And without further delay, I will now ask our guest speaker, Aranka, to introduce herself. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. I'm Aranka Golphy. I graduated from Lakehead University. I was in the second class of their law school. Previous to that, I did a degree in political science and criminology at University of Ottawa. I didn't go to Ottawa planning to do criminology. I kind of just found it for a terrible reason. Well, maybe if you want to ask me about that later.
Yeah.
I currently work for Legal Aid. I'm primarily a criminal duty counsel defense lawyer. So I'm a staff lawyer for Legal Aid Ontario. That was essentially my dream job. And I've been in that role for about going on 4 years, and I've been a lawyer for 5. My call was in 2017. So I just celebrated the 5 years of that. So yeah, so I'm open. I honestly came from I'm a first generation university student. So I didn't really have any supports on university or never mind law school. So I'm happy to answer any questions and be a contact for people that may have questions in the future, because I definitely needed that when I was at that pre-law stage.
I see. Wow, that's really cool. And congratulations on your 5 years. And yeah, that's really amazing. I feel like a lot of people might be in that situation. So the fact that they have you and other lawyers, I think that's really good. So yeah, so I'm just going to start asking you some questions. And yeah, so so like at what point in your life did you decide you want to pursue a legal career?
So I grew up in social housing. Like I grew up in a really poor neighborhood where you would like commonly see people get arrested, or the police would come looking for like missing kids. Like, did you see like this? Because I was like a kid, right? Like in this, or like, like 11, 12 years old, so a kid. And so that kind of, I always wanted to be able to help my neighbors. So that's why I kind of wanted criminal defense. So that kind of spawned the idea at a young age. And then I want like grade 6, 7. And then by grade 10, I was like, yes, this is what I'm going to pursue. This is what I want to do.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that must be very rough to see that as a kid, but I mean, it's great that like you're pursuing something you want to do. I mean, I guess that's what makes you so passionate about it, right? I think that's really good. Second, like what program and courses did you study in your undergraduate program? And you said which university, but what courses? Because I know some people struggle with what courses they should take.
So I started out so at University of Ottawa, there's a co-op option. So I started out in political science with co-op because I wanted to be like a political advisor or something like that. But this is so stupid. So in first year, I did the first year criminology class, and the prof was very attractive. And I decided well, whoa, maybe I should go in criminology if I'm going to get this teacher more often. And it turns out he only taught that one class, which makes me think it was a plan, like that school planned it that way.
Yeah.
But I kind of dropped the co-op option and ended up doing criminology for a stupid reason. But hey, it worked out in the end. It was, the material interest me too was interesting to me too. I took some. So that's how I ended up with the criminology double major with the political science. I volunteered for a member of parliament who was from my home riding in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Okay.
I did a lot of volunteer work. I volunteered with Elizabeth Fry Society. I worked at the movie theater as a projectionist at the same time. Like, they were hard days. I worked very hard to get into law school, to build that resume. What else did I do? So for classes, I did a lot of psychology, some history, some like a lot of the criminology, because it's a double major, a lot of the political science, political theory. Because of a double major, you're kind of weighed down by what you have to do. But my fiance, I met him in law school. So I'm also pro dating in law school. So just so you know, but he took like drama classes. Like he did a major in criminology and a minor in psychology, and he was doing like first year university drama and stuff. So, and like he did a sex and sexuality class. Like he tells me about all these classes he took. So I think like take whatever you want because we're both in the same place, right? So
yeah, that's what I've heard. You take anything you want in your undergrad, and then like you can still wow, that's really funny about your how you're doing criminology and everything. But I guess that leads to my question, that you had so much going on, you were double majoring. How did you balance your time and everything with that?
I didn't, honestly. And it was really like, ever since high school, I was very, like, I was in the international baccalaureate program, and like I would not recommend that. Like, I know we're past that with this talk, but like I would not recommend that because it wasn't necessary. But I just didn't. I set up really unhealthy habits in high school. I didn't sleep much. I stayed up too late. I didn't spend enough time with my family. I didn't exercise enough. This summer, high school ended, and I was going away for university because I was going across the province. I did get healthy. I started going to the gym. I lost a lot of weight and was really doing well, but it almost feels like trying to pursue law and trying to and like at the undergraduate level, but also in law school, it's just so hard to get that balance. And honestly, I didn't do it until I would say my third year of law school. I kind of was like, screw it, because I'm also a boxer, so I'm passionate about that, and I have to train a lot for that. So I kind of was like, screw it, I'm getting mediocre grades, working my ass off, so I'm just going to lay back. And you know what? I got the same grades, but I was going to the gym, eating healthier, meal prepping. So it's just you kind of have to find your sweet spot, because if you're killing yourself, staying up all night, and really struggling with your mental health to get like middle of the class grades, and you're like, why can't I get the top of the class? You don't need to get the top of the class. What C's get degrees in law school level, because it's really hard to get into law school, but it's hard. It's even harder to get kicked out, right? So yeah, undergrad, you kind of have to really push yourself. But once you get to law school, don't kill yourself for an A. Like, it's just not. Like, no one's going to look at your transcripts. They'll scare you into thinking they are, but no one's going to look past like your first job.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing advice, because it's really unfortunate that happened to you. And I feel like so many law students and even undergrad students like are like going through the same thing that you went through. And I feel like they do need to have that message, that like, don't kill yourself to get that.
But at the end of the day, your body's what's going to get you through your whole life. If you're destroying it with drugs or alcohol or lack of sleep, lack of good nutrition when you're like 20 to 30, or like let's say like undergrad, like 18 to 20, 22, like that's not a good start. Like you may at like 22, you may not feel like it's the start of your life, but like I'm only 30, but like that's, you feel the consequences. So yeah, you're going to get to your goals most likely. And at the very least, you're going to get where you're meant to be. So
exactly. I just, if you ruin yourself, I feel like you won't enjoy it maybe as much, because it'll bring back bad memories too, like, so I feel like, yeah, that's amazing advice. And
Mhm.
So I know also associated with that, I know a lot of people are stressed out about the LSAT. So how was the LSAT for you and law school admission process like
Oh, okay.
that?
So I think there's a wealth divide with the LSAT.
Okay.
So I grew up in poverty. I had to pay for everything myself. My parents weren't gonna help me. LSAT courses were astronomically priced. Like the textbooks were expensive enough, and the fees to write the exam,
Yeah.
but and then to have the time to study. So I found my fiance. He got a higher LSAT score than me, but I got higher grades throughout law school.
Yeah.
So the thing is, he could afford to go to those prep courses. He could afford to write it twice. And every book he wanted, his parents would buy for him, that sort of thing. So it was incredibly unfair. And then we all know that these questions are like they kind of discriminate in a way too, like just how they're worded in that, what depending on what your background is. Like I grew up in Thunder Bay,
Mhm.
so it's a little bit different than growing up in Southern Ontario. So I just like for me it was a terrible, terrible, horrible process.
Mhm.
But again, I like sorry to like not sugarcoat it, but I think like the if you're coming from low income family, you're gonna struggle. I feel like there's several wealth like gatekeeping doors on the way to becoming a lawyer, and that's the first one.
Mhm.
And it sucks. Like, but you know what? I did it. Like I worked really, really hard. I studied. I found a summer job that I could study at while I was um, pursuing that. Like it was like minding a desk at a park. Like
Mhm.
it was pretty easy. So I had to go out and count cars every like hour,
Oh,
like get people to do surveys. So I had a lot of time to study. So that allowed me to do that. But yeah, it was really hard for me. But again, because money was the issue. It's expensive.
no,
Like my
like
advice would be to save money, but then it's kind of hard to say that to someone who like if they don't have the support of a parent or if they're coming to law a little bit later in life and they
yeah.
have to support a family, then that's not a fair thing to say either. But I don't know. They always say they want more minorities and people um, from different financial backgrounds and different people in the law, but then they have all these barriers. So
Exactly. No, like you said, like I don't think you should be sugarcoating it because I feel like there are so many like these stories like you don't hear, right? You only hear about like the success stories, the people who get
mm-hmm.
these Ivy Leagues, like, but you have to look at the people who like, struggle to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not all about your grades. You can get amazing grades, but you just don't have,
And I'll tell you one thing, my fiance gets mad at me for bringing this up, but there's someone in my class who won a bunch of scholarships. Guess what? They're not practicing law anymore
really.
because they were told not to.
Yeah.
Like they got disciplined, right? Like your class, like you could like so you have people who top of your class and then like I'm still trucking away paying student debt and then they got the scholarship, but then they did a misconduct. Who knows? I don't know the details,
Yeah.
right? It's just who knows? Like it's just my point is it's like you're gonna get curveballs and like whoever, even if you're in like law school and you look up at that top of the class, that top person who's getting all the money and awards and that, and that's not a guarantee of success. Like you might be the most successful lawyer in your class and you're getting like you're the bottom rung or in the middle or the third in line. Like it's just we have this very black and white thinking as people being interested in law. And that's I think going through law school I had different mentors who were non-law related that kind of got me out of that black and white thinking.
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing, like important side to see. I really do because I feel like everyone should see like the hardships as well. Like it's not as simple as, I like law and I'm gonna, like you have to like consider all the factors.
Yeah, you have to like it's hard. It's really hard. And the money that you make as a lawyer, like it doesn't go as far as it did like anything. It didn't go as far as it did like even like a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's challenging.
No, I feel like they really have to be passionate and work hard, just like you did, to like
Hmm.
really get where they want, especially if they are like, like on low income or whatever.
Yeah.
You just really have to work hard. It can't be
Hmm.
simply like I want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's amazing. So were there any courses in law school that might have stood out to you that like made an
Um,
impact on your life?
for me, in law school, I really like surprisingly, I really liked legal history. And I
Okay.
wasn't gonna take it and then I don't know why, I don't even know why I did. I like, it was I like the professor. I thought they were very smart. So I took that class and I wrote a paper on Darcy McGee because in Ottawa there's like the Darcy McGee bar.
Yeah.
And I guess in Toronto and that too. And we were supposed to, before class, it was like the time frame of the class was like around like Confederation, like that sort of thing. And we were going around the class and we were supposed to pick someone to write a paper on or an event or something like that. And he was going around hearing what we were going to write on, and I hadn't prepared. So I just thought of the first name from that era that came to mind. Yeah. And it was Darcy McGee because of the bar. Yeah. So you're noticing a lot of like, I'm very prepared, but a lot of my path is determined by thinking on my feet. But yeah. I read a book and read a few books on him and just wrote an amazing, not with like, I enjoyed writing the paper. It was quite long. It was the longest paper I'd ever written. I don't remember the length anymore. Yeah. But yeah, I just loved that class. It was good because it wasn't practical at all. And at Lakehead University, like at the Borlaskin Faculty of Law, a lot of it is practical. So to do something that was completely theoretical, it just felt good. Yeah. I did it for me, not for my future.
Oh, wow. No, I think that's really good. I feel like I said before, everyone's so focused on this like one path. They think they have to take like very specific classes to get into law school. But like, I feel like you should take some that, you know, like you are passionate about as well. So like,
yeah,
it can open your, you know, thinking and all that and your interests. Yeah. So I know what field of law you currently practice in, but like, what do you like most about this field that you're in?
Well, criminal law, like I said, I grew up because I wanted to help my neighbors. So like I could never really be a crown attorney because that kind of goes just personally against my values. Like I'm not saying what a crown attorneys do an important job. I'm not saying that's like bad or anything. I'm just saying for me personally, it's just against what I went to law school for. So I like being duty counsel lawyer because it's like open and shut. Like you're like an emergency room doctor of law is how I describe it. Like you don't really have your own files. You talk to people, shoot them in the right direction, and then you go to the next person. And I really like that. You're kind of like the first person people talk to when they get arrested. The law, like the criminal side of it, I don't know. I don't know. I find it kind of easy. I guess you can say like it's like it's a lot like you're not dealing with people's feelings like you would in family law, because I did that for a bit. And just it's like your clients never really did love the police, right? Whereas when you're dealing with family law, your client and the other client, they loved each other, right? They had a family together. Yeah. So it's I don't know, I like that the other lawyer doesn't have their own specific client. And I like duty counsel work because it's 9 to 5. I'm usually done by sorry, my internet's unstable. I'm usually done by 5. I got benefits. I can get my teeth fixed. I can get massages covered. I got a pension. So it's just and honestly, I did my own firm for a while. I worked in private practice, and you make so little money for the amount work you put in. You're practically making minimum wage by the end of the day. So at least I know with legal aid, I'm getting paid, I'm getting my benefits, I get overtime, I have a union. I like the work. So yeah.
Oh, that's really good. I mean, you have to do what works for you, right? Like, I think all of that sounds amazing. So, and if there is anything, what do you dislike most about your field?
I can get a little draining. Like, I had to talk someone at a client, and again, not saying names, so I can be able to tell this information, but they hit and they had no criminal record whatsoever. They hit someone while drunk, it killed them. And I essentially had to talk them down, like, and negotiate, like somehow I got them out. Like it was a miracle. It's just a lot of my work depends on the mood of the justice of the peace or the crown attorney. But it was it's a little traumatic, you know, like that kind of like shook me for the week. You have to hear about a lot of people's traumas, because a lot of the people who come in contact with the justice system for criminal perspective have generational trauma from being First Nations and residential schools. They have addiction issues. They have like a lot of suicide in their family and stuff like that. And just hearing those stories is a lot.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next question is that like, I feel like your fields like family and criminal law, like they are both very like, I guess you said criminal law isn't as emotional as family law, but how do you like leave your work, like at work? Like do you
Yeah.
bring it home?
So I don't do family law anymore. Actually, I stopped because a criminal job opened up and it was just criminal. So I preferred that. I'm
Okay.
a child, like my parents had like just a nasty separation and just like, ugh, like it was just bad. So it was very triggering for me to do family law.
Yeah.
So I caught out of that when I could, because I could not handle.
Yeah.
Just because of my past. I see a therapist once a month, and I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
I think everyone should get therapy, whether you think you need it or not. It's super, super beneficial. It's like getting a checkup from the doctor.
Yeah.
It just severely. So if you're an undergrad or in law school, take advantage of those resources while they're free. So,
Definitely.
so yeah, that really helped me. I'm a boxer, so I train almost every day. I work out twice a day most days. If I have the time, like I'm like that's a really big thing for me. Like when I actually got really, really sick with COVID and I couldn't exercise for 6 months, and that was when it was tough, right? Because I couldn't exercise and that. But yeah, for me, it's going to the gym and pursuing a sport, and or like having some sort of hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'm so glad you're talking about this because I feel like, people don't really think about this type of stuff, when they're thinking about going into like these types of fields. So I feel like it's important, like you said, therapy and everything. I feel like they don't know how like it'll affect you, like when you're actually in the field. So
Yeah, it's honestly like it's fine. Like it's the odd one that kind of sticks with you. Like you're just like, especially on a Monday morning, like when we were in person, you'd
yeah.
have to go up to the Crown's office and like bring your coffee and sit in the room, and they'd go over all the files with you. And sometimes like just like it's Monday morning, you're trying to like process your breakfast, and then there's like gnarly facts because they tell you the facts, right? And you're just like, oh, not today. They're like, give me a second. So but I'm lucky, like I'm not a Crown, so I don't have to look at the pictures, so
Yeah.
that's my comfort. Yeah.
No, that's good. You have to like you have to do what you like are passionate about too.
Mm-hmm.
So what is like a typical day in your career, like in terms of responsibilities and tasks?
Okay, so for instance, today, so a lot of what I do is remote now, which is amazing. I'm a big fan. Yeah, I hate courthouses now. After post-pandemic, I'm like, why do we even come here?
Yeah.
Because they're just so sterile and like there's no personality, and it's just like this is a sad place to work. But I only noticed this after the pandemic, by the way, since
Yeah.
like because at home it's just more comfortable. But what I do, so this morning I got up, and what my main thing is, I had to do the list. So legal aid uses a system called PeopleSoft. So we have a list of people in our system, and then I have to just attach like a lawyer to them. So I go into the file, who's their lawyer, whatever. So I have that ready to go for the day. I'll identify people I need to speak to do some bail planning. So I'll text. We're very modern. This is not how it was pre-pandemic. This is very modern. This is very new. I'll text the jail, which sounds weird, but I'll text the jail guard and I'll be like, hey, I need to speak to this person, this person, this person. He'll be like, okay, I'll work on it. So the morning from different clients, and I just asked them like, hey, like who can you live with? Is there anyone I could call to see if they could be a surety? So that's someone you live with, that make sure you follow the rules, and just bail plan. And then court starts. Oh, and then I have to call I call the correctional center. They don't have texting, which is like another facility in Thunder Bay that holds females and then the overflow males. Then I call, I don't really get a lunch on these days, but I'll make time to walk my dog. And then I'll go to, again, perk of working at home. And then I go to, so I get sent a list, and it's a list of all the people that we're going to have to address their matters today. It's like, say, a set date court. Then we go through, so I attach instructions to every person based on emails I start receiving from different counsel. And And then I write in my own notes from the people I had spoken to in the morning. And then court starts at 1 and we run the list. Right now we're doing a lot of waivers. We never did that before, but if counsel wants to waive someone appearing in front of the court and just have their instructions delivered to the court without the person appearing from their cell, we do that just to reduce COVID in the jail, because it's just all the time. There's outbreaks. Like it's just, and it's, the jail's already short staffed, so it just puts everyone at risk.
Yeah.
And then we run the list, and then I email lawyers with what happened, and I speak to anyone I have to that needs legal advice. So like sometimes legal aid work is glorified secretarial work, which is fine by me because I'm the one with the pension. Yeah. I know probably an undergrad that doesn't seem like an important thing, but believe me, it'll feel important soon.
No, I feel like honestly, like any job in the law field is just so important. Like there are like, you know, certain steps that you have to take. So like I think it sounds really important.
Well, I do bail hearings too, so that's a totally different like day, like, talking to people and preparing that. But my hardest day would be like a day like today, which is doing the set day court. I think other lawyers probably, they're happy to have duty counsel because we make their lives easier sometimes, but I think they also look down on us because we don't really do the substantive, like I'm an expert on getting people to jail. Like that's what I do. Mostly jails and bail hearings and pleas.
I see.
And I'm perfectly happy. I find trials very, very, very stressful. And I just don't want that anxiety in my life. Like I know, it's just so many factors you can't control, and it's just not for me.
No, that makes sense. And so I feel like your days are not like the same. So like
no, every day is different.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow I have a bail hearing day. So I'll try and call the client, I have to do some paperwork with them to allow me to do the bail hearing, like consents. Yeah. And then I go, I kind of have this, I've been doing this a while. So I have a template of like primary, secondary, tertiary, kind of get some notes on the person, some background. I already have the case law in the template, so I don't have to do that anymore. And then I contact the surety, get some information on them, go through questions, and just kind of put together a bail plan and be ready for it. And then I submit materials to the court, and that's the bail day.
Nice.
So every day is a little different.
Yeah, that's good. It's like something different each day. So that's
that's really nice. It's never like sitting at your desk all day doing the same thing.
Exactly. I think people will like that. I think people want to know, you know, that like it's not the same thing every day, because I do feel like some people, like undergrad and law students, they get a little freaked out when they think that they're doing the same thing for the rest of their lives.
Well, like the thing is, before the pandemic, it was a very physical job, because you'd always be running to different courtrooms. You would be standing up every time you spoke. Like it was, and you were in court all day, so you're doing that all day. So it was I don't know, it was much more physically demanding. Just like how many steps I'd get, it would be insane. It's less so now.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool.
I'm just kind of happy with. I can go on longer walks with my dog during the day. I can like when I have time, and I get the steps in elsewhere.
No, that's really cool. And I feel like COVID really did. I feel like it made some things better in a way.
No, honestly, it made the legal field so much better how it's working now. Because like the thought of going into an office every day or going into court every day, like they're obviously like private lawyers have to do that, but in my position, you don't really, not at this point, you don't really have to do that. The thought of doing that every day, it might convince me to get a different job, because like I've seen the light now.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I'm kind of curious, and if you can't discuss it, it's okay, but what kind of cases do you like most commonly have? Like, are there any cases that stood out to you the most? Like, you don't have to discuss details, but like
a lot of impaireds, like what we come across a lot is a lot of like just assaults, impaireds, domestics, because the police in domestic situations have to charge someone. So someone will call the police to get their boyfriend or partner to leave, and then like I had one the other day where they ended up getting charged, and they're the ones who called the police because they just happened to be the most drunk.
Okay.
My best moment was, so I had like legal aid. I had like children's aid involvement when I was a kid, like just briefly. And when I did, so like I always had this little thing like where I'm like getting to be a lawyer against children's aid like really helped me heal from my childhood traumas where like they were involved in my life because like it was not in a positive way. So what I did is I had a parent whose kids got taken away and I worked to get them their kids back, right? When I was in family law, and I saw the mom with the two kids at the mall just randomly when I was like shopping, and it just made me feel like they shouldn't acknowledge me. I didn't acknowledge her, but it felt good. Like it felt like, oh, I did this.
Yeah,
I made it happen.
no, I feel like that's such a big accomplishment, and you feel so happy inside because like, they're getting what you did, so that's
Yeah. Well, like when you get people out of jail, sometimes you're like, was that a win for society? Like,
yeah,
yes, sometimes absolutely it was. But
yeah,
sometimes you're like, I don't know. Because if they're back, when you look at someone out and they're back in 2 weeks, you're kind of like, eh. But
yeah,
like bringing a family together when you know that maybe their kids shouldn't have been taken away in the first place, it feels good.
yeah. Like I said, I feel like there's a lot of like emotional stuff that goes into it. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's important that you discuss that, So
Yeah.
that's really good. And then what is like a common misconception about lawyers do you think that you hear about the most?
I think it's that they're rich.
Oh.
Like I'm like still paying off law school 5 years later, and it's like I'd even take the full amount. I lived at home during law school. I got like lots of OSEP that I didn't like the grant OSEP. I came into law school with some savings and I'm still paying it off, but I'm starting to get bitter about it at this point.
Yeah.
I'm halfway there, so it's a good sign. But yeah, it's like the tons of money thing because like I don't know, you can I don't know how to say it. Like it's just I would like would have hoped to be in a better financial situation 5 years after graduating.
Yeah.
But it's just so expensive. If you like my partner, he had law school paid for, right?
Yeah.
So he has no debt and is like living like, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm still trying to pay off that gosh darn student loans. And it's just like, I think if you came into law with no money, you're going to have no money for a good period of time after too.
Yeah.
Unless you like, if you come from a family where like, hey, like you're not paying for your schooling, then that's fine. It's just, you're going to be real deep in debt. It's going to take like 5 to 10 years to pay.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and it sucks.
I guess like you shouldn't be going into law for the money. You should be passionate about what you're doing.
You can go in for the money because like where else are you really gonna make like $100+ grand a year? Like unless you want to do like mining, which I don't know, a lot of clients do that and make very good money, but that's dangerous.
Yeah.
For a relatively safe job, it's like, yeah, you're gonna make the money. It's just like medicine, right? You go into that, if you don't have a parent paying your tuition, you're gonna be paying that for 10 years after as well, if not more. So just know that like when the bank gives you money, don't spend it all just because they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do that. And I'm still like, oh my God.
I know. I feel like, yeah, you're right though. I feel like a lot of people, when you ask them, like some people, like why you want to be a lawyer, like money. So I feel like it's important to know that like it won't come like maybe right away, but like, yeah, you should be
eventually. But like, it's like right now, just like everything's so weird in the world that it's like money, it doesn't go as far. But pre-pandemic, it definitely like could have like it went farther, I guess. I don't know. It's just, who knows? Just be aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's a very important factor.
Google. And the first part about law school is you want to eat out a lot because it's so stressful and you want to get off campus and away from it all. So you'll go like eat out way too much with friends or like, especially if you don't have a car and your friend does, and they're like, let's go get like growing season. That's the Thunder Bay thing. Yeah. And go get your salad and whatever. And yeah, that adds up. Why now? Be careful how much money you spend, because I fell victim to that so bad.
No, I think budgeting, I think every student needs to know about like.
But you get so stressed and it's like, just get me out of here. You had intentions to eat your sandwich, but you're like, you know what? You reach a point, there's times in 1L where you're like, just get me out of here. Like, I just want to get a lot.
Sometimes like eating out or like spending money on something you like, that like that's your like relief, right? Like that's how you
don't do that.
Exactly.
Ways.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a very important factor for everyone to consider. Like money is, you should save money and everything.
Yeah.
Um, so what advice would you give to your younger self prior to attending law school?
I think it's just that like it's gonna be okay. Like it'll be hard, but it's gonna be okay because I find law attracts like very high anxiety people. Like
Yeah.
I had a undiagnosed anxiety disorder when I was like applying for law school and going into that. And I think it's just like just don't stress. It's okay. Like it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like don't stay up all night. Don't do that either. And just yeah, just don't overthink it, which is hard because that's what you it's if someone told me don't overthink it when I was overthinking it, I would have been like, yeah, sure, don't think about red elephants. You think about red
Yeah.
elephants, right? So, but yeah, it's just calm down. It would probably be my advice.
Yeah. No, I think that's like the best advice you can give, especially to everyone in law school, everyone in undergrad stressing about LSAT. I think
Oh, just even you saying it, I'm like cringing. Ooh.
yeah, like I feel like we discussed in the very beginning, like we said, like don't kill yourself to, get where you think, like
Yeah, and especially the LSAT. If you don't have like money to take the courses, or you live in this place where the courses aren't available, they
yeah.
probably are available digitally now. But again, it was 2013
Mhm.
when I was going through this, so it's probably a different story. They definitely weren't available digitally when I was going through it. But yeah, it's just like you don't have the resources. You almost have to cheat the system
Mm.
as a and by doing that is just buying all those books from chapters and like really studying them, talking to other people who went through the process and are trying to get rid of their LSAT books. I had some hand me downs that helped ease the cost. Yeah,
Mm.
it was like I'm not gonna. But I think also I just am not very logical, so maybe that was the issue. Because I talked to other people who had much better like LSAT experiences. They've studied for like 3 weeks, not even maybe a week, and they were just ready to go. And I'm like I studied all summer and still got like a on the LSAT. So
No, I feel like for some people it comes naturally. For me, it does not. So
well, the number stuff was really challenging. I've always struggled with numbers uh to this day. That's why also family law wasn't a good fit because equalization statements, it's
oh
all
yeah,
just families numbers.
yeah,
So that was hard. I think that's
yeah,
the hardest part about law school is the LSAT. Like you get past the LSAT, you're good.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think everyone needs to hear that because I know so many people are stressing with LSAT.
I
So.
would say the bar was like easier than the LSAT for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how hard it
Oh my
was.
gosh.
Sorry guys, like hate to tell you,
No,
but
no, it's good. Like, don't sugarcoat it. I
course,
think.
I would 100% say the courses are worth it because I didn't do it because I couldn't afford it. Like it just wasn't an option. I physically couldn't do it because I wasn't somewhere where it was.
Yeah.
And I think that was an advantage. Just like talking to my partner.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said, like, don't sugarcoat it. I think everyone wants to know the real, like
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. And this is my last question. So, what advice would you give to the next future generation of aspiring legal professionals?
I think it would be do not put up with the BS of law firms. So I originally was working for a firm and they would like yell at their clerks and like almost like constructively fire people, like they would be like, someone would mess up and then they yell at them and they'd be so scared, you're so anxious and scared they mess up again. And then they ended up being fired. Like it was like, as soon as in this firm, as soon as someone got sent to the records room, like where they stored all the old files, you knew they were getting fired because they'd send them to like photocopy them or something
Yeah.
into the filing system. Like, yeah, you knew that was their last week. So I just like, if a firm is going to offer you less money than you think you're worth, even if you summered there, and this is more for small firms because I know the bigger firms are a little bit more competitive. But yeah, if you summered there and they're gonna try and pay you like 50 grand a year for your first year, like you can make that on your own. Don't hang around. There's ways.
Yeah.
Like I left a firm and then they were trying to pay me $50,000 a year working like really like expect you to be at the office on weekends and that sort of thing. And I made that same amount or maybe a couple of thousand less, but just by working part-time for myself. picking
Okay.
up duty counsel shifts, getting on the panel, taking the legal aid client. Like, yeah, so don't let partners at firms, big or small, manipulate you. Know your worth. It'll work out. And don't be afraid to quit with a plan B, because I did that and that's how I ended up in my dream job. So
Nice. Again, all the advice you gave, I think is really important for people to know this, because I feel like when people get to that stage that they're a lawyer, they thought like it would never happen. They take anything, right? And they're like, oh, like, because I feel like I can't get anything else. But
get your foot in the door. Yeah. Yeah. They have this whole weird idea of hazing. Like I had I was summering 2 summers for this firm, and then they were like, oh, we heard so and so couldn't get a job, so they had to work as a law clerk. Like they kind of implying me like, hey, you were only offering you this much money, but you should really take the job. And when I actually quit, I signed the contract, but I quit like weeks later, and I was just like, I also had an injury, like that they weren't treating me very well about. Like it's just it was a messy situation. Like I could have been in the wrong too. Like totally admit that. I quit. So and at the end of the day, they like called around trying to figure out who hired me. And it's like, no one hired me. I quit on my own. Like I just went, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I quit. Because there's it was building up over 2 summers.
Yeah.
And oh, this is my golden ticket job. And then when they offered me that money, and it's just like, it was like, you don't really want me. So, yeah, just don't be afraid. Like if you're miserable, don't do something that makes you miserable. Life's too short. Like,
yeah, like don't be in that negative, toxic environment just so.
well, I also didn't have to raise a family. Like I don't have a family, like young kids or like whatever. So it's different, I guess, when you have more people to worry about than yourself. But I was lucky enough to it was just me I was worried about. So
Yeah. No, I feel like in any like, yeah, you're right. Like with people with families, it's harder, but like at the same time, like I feel like no one should be tolerating, like disrespect, right? Like,
yeah, just and like the firm is in a good place when they're yelling at their clerks. If you're at somewhere where we're shaming clerks for taking a coffee break, like with their one coffee break or whatever, then it's not a place you want to be. Because if they're gonna yell at that clerk, you better believe they're gonna yell at you too.
Yeah, like you want a positive experience after all the hard work you did. I feel like you don't want like
like I had a friend who was in one city articling, and then her articling like coworker turned to her and said, well, it's not as bad as Toronto. And it's like, that shouldn't be the standard. Yeah. like if you want that, go for it. Like if that's your goal, great. But like this particular friend was more meant for like clinic work and like that kind of direction. So she was like, yeah, no, I'm not putting, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like the partner was apparently like putting work, they closed their door because they were in the loudest office because they're the articling students. And then the partner, instead of like knocking on the door, being like, oh, hey, here you go, put the work under the door, like under the crack. And it's just like, that's not like, what? Why?
No, you shouldn't have to go through all those hurdles just to like work.
Yeah, like it's like the hazing. So I'm hoping the next generation doesn't have to. I'm hoping my generation is smart enough to not put the next generation through that.
Yes.
Because it kind of.
Yeah, no one should go through that. And I'm sorry that like it happened too.
That didn't happen. Well, the yelling and that happened. Right. The other thing was a friend. No. But yeah, no, it was. Again, I'm not saying I was totally innocent in the situation. Yeah. I'm sure I did stuff they didn't like either. I'm certain I did, but at the same time, it wasn't for me. And it worked out. It got. I love my work. I work with my fiance. Like he was my mentee, and I was in second year. He was in first year, and he was my mentee. And I pulled Michelle Obama and locked that up. Like. Because I heard Michelle was a Barack's mentor in a law firm.
That's so cool.
There was good precedent. Yeah. And yeah, so we work together at Legal Aid, and we have great coworkers, boss. I love it. Clerks, or we call them legal aid workers, but they're a little more than clerks, I guess. Yeah, we just yeah, it's great. I'm happy. But I suffered during law school. Like I really had a hard time during 1L. 2L was great. When I met my partner, 3L was great, but like 1L for some reason, the LSAT and 1L were hard. But for my fiance, 1L was the easy one and 2L and 3L were hard. So everyone is different. Everyone's different.
Exactly.
So, but like, just know that it gets, no matter what, it gets better. And if you are having like mental health issues, or you feel like you have really bad anxiety, or you have panic attacks, get help. There's no shame in that, because your life will get 100% better. You'll do better in school. You'll just be happier. And like, at the end of the day, happiness is the most important thing, not your grades, because if you're happy, guess what? You're going to get good grades, right? Exactly. So yeah.
Exactly. I guess I'll just say that, like, I feel like everyone can really value from hearing what you had to say, because I feel like so many people are having these mental breakdowns, and they think it's normal because they're like, you know, like law school or even med school, you know, like they think it's normal. But like you said, like, get help. If you're happy, then everything like surrounding you will work.
Yeah, you don't have to hit rock bottom before like you get help in that. And like, I think in law school we kind of rolled our eyes. Like, they had Orlando De Silva come in and speak, and we're like, you know, like, you feel bad for the guy, that's awful, but you're like, oh, like, my situation is not nearly as bad as that. But I think like, it doesn't have to be like, you could be perfectly fine like going about your day. But like, I think, like I said, I think therapy should be mandatory. It's a shock. Like, it's really upsetting that it's such a barrier, especially for the people who need it the most in our society. So yeah, I'm definitely a proponent of that, because my mental health suffered in law school. But again, law school attracts people who are type A, right? So chicken or egg, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you when you said like, people think that they're not allowed to feel a certain way because someone has been through worse. And I feel like that's not like, yeah, we get it. Like someone's in a way worse condition than anybody, right? But like, you have to like consider yourself first to like,
yeah, absolutely,
make sure you succeed and all that. So, well, I just want to say thank you so much. I think you have a very, like, you had a very different perspective, and I feel like everyone needs to know that. You said in the beginning like not to sugarcoat it, and I totally agree. Like, you shouldn't be sugarcoating, because I feel like it will be very helpful to people when they're applying to law school. They should know everything that goes into it, you know?
And like, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but of course it's my views, not of legal aid. But it's also my situation, my specific background and quirks and all that. I'm not saying that it's going to be anyone else's experience, or that it's any like, and by the way, I'm really happy working for legal aid. I'm sure there's people who are miserable, right? Yeah. So everything is different for everybody, right? So take it as another opinion in a pile of opinions you guys have been gathering.
Exactly. I think it's a very like good thing to consider. Everything that you said, it's amazing advice. I think it's very important to consider. And well, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.